Okay, so there's this quiet revolution happening on the roads of Kenya right now. And trust me, it's about way more than just cleaner air. We're talking about a massive shift in the country's economy, and it's all being powered by a very surprising, very new source of cash.
All right, check out this number, 190.8 million shillings. That is how much money Kenya's main power utility, Kenya Power, just pulled in from something totally new for them, electric vehicles. Now, I know you might be thinking, is that a lot? Well, it's not just some rounding error on a spreadsheet. It's a real signal that e-mobility is already making a serious financial dent.
So what are we really looking at here? Is this just a nice little side hustle for the power company, a bit of extra pocket change? Or is this the first little tremor before a massive earthquake that could totally reshape Kenya's entire energy and transport sectors? That's the big question.
To really get why this is happening in Kenya, of all places, you gotta understand that there's this, well, it's like a perfect storm of ingredients all coming together to create a huge e-mobility boom.
Okay, so for decades, Kenya's transport system has been totally chained to expensive imported fossil fuels. You know how it goes. Every single time global oil prices jump, these massive shockwaves just ripple right through the Kenyan economy, putting a huge strain on literally everything.
But here is Kenya's secret weapon, and it is a big one. Unlike a lot of other countries, over 80% of its electricity comes from clean, homegrown, renewable sources. We're talking geothermal, hydro, wind, you name it. So what that means is, when you plug in an EV in Kenya, you're not just swapping petrol for electricity. You're plugging directly into a sustainable, local power source.
So what you end up with is this really powerful push and pull dynamic. You've got the pain of crazy high fuel prices and pollution literally pushing people away from petrol cars, and at the same time, you have this promise of clean, affordable, local energy that's pulling them toward electric vehicles. It's the perfect setup.
All right, so where exactly did that 190.8 million shillings come from? Let's follow the money, shall we? Let's see how this brand new demand is actually showing up on the grid.
And we're not talking about just a few rich early adopters here. No way. This money is flowing from a whole ecosystem of EVs that are already on the streets. You've got these silent electric buses just gliding through city traffic. You've got nimble electric motorbikes zipping all over the place on delivery runs. It's already happening.
And you know, this whole movement is being driven by some really pioneering companies. You've got Bossigo, which is rolling out electric buses. You've got Rome, actually manufacturing electric motorbikes right there in Kenya. And then there's Ampersand, creating these cool, innovative battery swapping systems. The key thing to remember is these are not just ideas on a PowerPoint slide. These are real businesses on the ground, actively cranking up the demand for electricity as we speak.
Okay, but the real magic here, it isn't just that these vehicles are using electricity, it's when they're using it. You see that deep valley on the chart? That's the middle of the night when pretty much everyone's asleep and electricity demand just tanks. Now, for a power company, that is a massive headache. It's basically a huge amount of wasted capacity.
And this is where EVs are an absolute game changer. They basically act like a giant sponge, just soaking up all that excess electricity during that off-peak time. So Kenya Power gets to sell electricity that honestly would have just gone to waste. They're boosting their revenue without needing to build a single new power plant. It's brilliant.
You know, that simple act, just charging a vehicle overnight, it creates this incredibly powerful ripple effect. The benefits go way beyond just the power company's bank account. We're talking about an impact on the entire national economy.
See, for years, Kenya Power has been wrestling with some really tough challenges, things like system losses and that underutilized capacity we just talked about. Well, e-mobility comes along and offers a direct, market-driven solution to these problems that have been around forever.
It really just comes down to a super simple business principle, getting the most out of what you already have. Asset utilization. They're selling more of the product they already make, electricity, using the power plants they already own. It's a straight shot in the arm for the financial health of one of the most critical companies in the entire country. But if you zoom out to look at Kenya as a whole, the impact gets even bigger. Every single electric bus, every electric motorcycle on the road, that's less money spent on foreign oil, which is a multi-billion shilling expense. It's creating brand new jobs in local assembly and manufacturing, and it's sparking this whole new industry around building and taking care of charging stations.
Okay, but let's be real for a minute. The road from 190 million shillings to, well, billions in revenue, it's not going to be a simple straight line. There are some major bumps in the road, some real challenges that could absolutely slow this whole thing down.
If they want to keep this momentum going, The industry really has to get serious about tackling these hurdles. I mean, the upfront cost of an EV is still pretty high for a lot of people. Finding a public charging station isn't always easy, and you've still got people who are just plain skeptical about the whole thing. These are real barriers, and they need real solutions.
And here's a really, really crucial point. This growth can't just happen in a vacuum. It needs a steady, supportive hand from the government. You need consistent policies, things like stable tax incentives and import duties. That's the stuff that gives big investors and just regular, everyday consumers the confidence they need to really go all in on electric.
So this brings us full circle, right back to where we started, that 190.8 million shilling figure and the massive question of what it could become. Just think about it for a second. Imagine a future where electric buses are just the standard for public transport, where the thousands and thousands of motorcycle taxis, the famous bodas, have all switched to electric. If, or maybe when that happens, that initial revenue number, it's not just going to grow, it's going to explode.
And you really have to appreciate the scale we're talking about here. Just take the bodas in Nairobi, just Nairobi. There are thousands of them on the road every single day. Electrifying even a small fraction of that fleet would create a massive, sustained surge in demand for electricity.
And that right there is the potential transformation we're talking about. It's the shift of a company from being just a traditional power utility to becoming a central, critical player in the entire country's transport economy. And that, right there, is exactly why investors have their eyes glued to this space.
So when you look at it, that 190.8 million shillings, it's not the end of the story. It's just the first sentence of the first chapter. The real burning question isn't just, what will this number be in 5 years? It's, can Kenya successfully navigate all those bumps in the road to build a brand new multi-billion shilling industry that completely transforms its economy from the ground up? That's the real story to watch.